I am super excited for today's project. Just picked up this aluminum hood from Flatirons Tuning. As you can see, I need one. If you haven't watched any of my other videos, here's why.
Right 3+ into left.
And the reason I'm so excited about an aluminum hood is it's going to be much lighter, and the weight is from the front of the car and relatively high, so to get that CG moved a little bit back and a little bit down, plus the overall weight savings helps with acceleration, braking, turning, everything. So this is really going to be a good mod. Let's go see what's in the box. I think this thing weighs less than the cardboard that it came packed in. This thing is awesome, and it's a factory hood, so it should have factory fit. Should be no problems bolting this thing right up. Of course, this is my race car, so we're not going to leave it stock. We're going to do some modifications, and I'll show you a little bit of that too. Before I install the hood, I want to get these old hood pins out of here. That way I can get the hinges all adjusted and make sure the hood sits flat, nice and flush with all the body lines. And then we'll go ahead and install hood pins. And I'm actually going to be installing a different style of hood pins, and I'll show you how to do that and why you might want to choose one style versus the next in the next video. So hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for that. We've got those hood pins off. Now we can set the hood up here. This thing's so light I can easily do this by myself. With the steel hood, wasn't so easy. I always like to have a helper to do it. Everything lined up really nice, so I went ahead and put both bolts in, just leaving these loose so that I can move the other side. We'll get these other two bolts in and see how it closes. Alright, we test fit the hood with everything loose, and it looked really good, so I'm going to go ahead and snug these bolts down, check it one more time, make sure it fits. Oh man, this thing is so light, this is going to be great. There you go, just like you'd expect a factory hood. I got to adjust the little bumper here, maybe screw this down just slightly. Oh, a little too much. There you go, perfect factory fit. As expected, all the vents, the scoop, everything fit perfectly. There's no issues there. So this hood's good to go. If you're installing this on your street car, you would go ahead and install your hood latch, and that should line up just perfect. I still have to install the lines for the window sprayers, and there's a couple rubber bumpers here that I'm going to install that I took off the steel hood. But now, this is a race car, so we got to modify this thing. We got to make it even better for racing. So what am I going to do? Well, here where I'm not putting on a latch, there's steel plate back here, and it's also a really beefy structure for tying down the hood. So we're actually going to cut this section out. The hood should still be plenty stiff. There's not an issue with that. There's also a couple extra tabs here that I don't use on these vents. I'm going to cut these out. Maybe a section in here where that under tray bolts, because I don't run that under tray. With an aluminum hood, I'm probably only going to do that stuff, not a lot more. With the steel hood, I actually cut out a lot of this structure very strategically, and it made a big difference on the steel hood. But this thing is so light that removing little strips of aluminum isn't going to save a ton of weight, so it's probably not worth it. But let's go ahead and get these big modifications done. All right, if you're going to do any cutting of metal anywhere near the glass, make sure the glass is covered. Those little metal shards will actually melt into the glass, and you usually scrape them out, but then your window's all pitted, makes it really hard to see, so you definitely don't want to do that. Take the time to cover it. Also, if you're going to be over the engine bay or anything else, make sure to cover that up. Don't want to get all that dust and little metal bits down in the engine and air filter. So get everything nice and covered, get your safety equipment, and let's do some cutting. If this is your first time cutting into your car, go slow. Don't make a really big cut, because you can always cut more later, but you don't want to cut too much, really hard to put back on. Other thing I found is use a Sharpie. Mark where you want to cut and take your time. You can look in these different holes, see what's under there, see where you want to cut. One other thing is make sure, especially when you're getting here where the metal's really thin, the two layers are really close together, make sure that you're not cutting very deep at all, especially with this aluminum. It's really easy to just plow through metal. So just cut very carefully. In areas down here where it's really thick, you can plunge in pretty good and cut that out and shouldn't be a problem. Pried this off, and the aluminum hood structure is a little bit different. There's this internal aluminum bracket that has the steel that's riveted to the back of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and continue cutting up here, and then I'll do a deeper cut down here to cut through this bracket. There are spot welds that you could drill, but I'd be really scared to drill through the top of the hood, and it's all aluminum, so I'm not going to bother getting the whole bracket off, but I'm going to cut this main structure here with the steel attached to it. Alright, I went back and cleaned this up. I got most of this bracket out. I've still got to file all these edges, but I've got this big chunk out here, which had our steel bracket on it. Get that out. The skin that was over that. Got a pretty big chunk here from down low. So a little bit of extra weight. Again, this is up high on the car and far forward, so everything helps. And not going to bother with all the extra little trimming, because this aluminum is pretty light. But if you can get some really big chunks out, it's definitely worth it. Even though it's a race car, you still want it to look good. You don't want any sharp edges. So it's the handwork that really puts a good finish on it. We'll do this to the rest of the hood, and it should be good to go. Everything fits perfect. We got the vents, the scoop, the window sprayers. Everything fits just like a factory hood should. I really recommend this modification. It saves 21 pounds off the front of the car, which is a pretty significant deal. I'll post a link down in the bottom where you can get one for yourself, and hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for the next episode where I'll get hood pins installed. See you out there.